Hey, on this video, I'm gonna share with you how I grew an HVAC company in Dallas, Texas to $4 million in just 1 year. And I'm gonna talk about some of the things that most people don't talk about, which is the most common mistakes, the scaling issues that we had as we were growing, the commission mistakes, overpaying my sales guys, and really the cash flow constraints that we had along the way and the lessons that we learned. So stick till the end of this video so you could see how I grew it, the mistakes I made, and the lessons I learned. Okay, so look, when I came into this business, the business was already doing $1 million. I partnered with them and I said, hey guys, listen, for the following year, why don't we shoot for 5 million? That was our target. So I said, there's a lot of missing structure in place that I need to come in and bring to the table. So the first thing that I did was I brought in a fractional CFO. This person was in charge of making sure she could provide me the basics, right? Bookkeeping, but I also wanted cash flow statements. I wanted to make sure I had my balance sheet. I wanted to have all the financials in order so I could actually, go back and look at where we needed to correct and what we needed to adjust in the business for higher profitability and higher revenue numbers. Once I had that in place, I kind of put that on the back burner. They were doing their job. And the next piece of the puzzle that I started working on immediately was really like my lead generation system, okay? I'm a marketer. I own a marketing company, and that was a big leverage for me. And maybe you don't own a marketing company yourself, but you could always come and either talk to me and I'm happy to help you, or go hire a firm or learn how to do marketing yourself. But that was the second piece of the puzzle. And here's the thing that I did. I created a system, a lead generation system that I call the Dominator system. But for Boost Air, I threw steroids on it. There's a lot of stuff that I added on top of it that I don't always offer to my clients. And the reason is because it's just so much hours that it takes to build it and it takes to manage it. What it is basically an omni-channel approach. It means that I'm going to be every single place that my consumers or my customers are, and I really just wanted to make sure that I could be known and I could stand out. So I was in different channels. Like I started doing Google SEO on the map pack and on the website. It took me quite a while, but it started ranking me into the #1 position when someone searches in my area. I then added immediately Google LSA. There was a few steps in order to get it set up right, but once I added it, one thing that I learned was Google LSA was my #1 lead source in terms of profitability for 2025. The only problem I had was I couldn't get it to spend. And when I did get it to spend, if I missed a call, they took me down in terms of call volume. So that was a challenge I had to overcome. The next one, I got on Google PPC. We were trying to focus on getting calls from Google. Then I realized it was very expensive. Google is not one of those channels where you could just, put some money behind and do what we call testing. If you test your budget, you could run through a $5,000, $10,000 monthly budget, depending on what your budget is, but you can run through it on Google PPC like that. Cost per click, and every market is different, but it was about $30. So that means that my cost per lead was about $300. Let me explain what that means. When somebody goes on Google and they click for any keyword, HVAC company near me, and they find your company, they click on your landing page, that landing page has a conversion rate. That means that for every click, the landing page has to be converted at a certain percentage. Whatever that percentage is, that means that's how your cost per lead is going to come in. So to break it down in simple math, every click was $30. My conversion rate on my landing page was 10%. That means it took 10 clicks in order for me to get a lead. And so it wasn't something feasible because I had other channels that was just bringing me way better leads, a lot cheaper, and that were converting. My most successful channel across all the ones that I've tested so far has been Facebook and Instagram ads. Now, a lot of people that I've talked to in the past that haven't been advertising on Facebook, they tell me, oh, I've heard bad things about that. That doesn't work. Look, the truth is you have to be competitive, and you don't know where your customers are because your customers are everywhere online. Today's day and age, who doesn't have a cell phone in their hand? Everyone. So I knew that coming into it, and I just started putting ads. The ads were in different categories. So when we started advertising in terms of offers, we were running upgrade to a brand new AC unit for as low as a certain cash dollar, right? So a cash offer. We were doing financing offers, free giveaways. We were doing tune-ups. We were trying everything, but I realized like Facebook got us the most amount of leads for the cheapest amount of cost and the highest ROI. Now, one of the things that I also realized was Facebook was extremely good in summer, and then come winter, when we get into Q4, it started doing the opposite. So cost per lead went extremely high. We were getting leads under $50 in summer, and then we were, somewhere around $150, $200 a lead in winter, which was not feasible. So then I started implementing other channels, even prior to getting into winter. There's other lead aggregator sources that I believe in that I recommend to the people that work with me. One of them is networks. A lot of people have not explored that channel, and it's not like Angie's leads necessarily. They do have a share program leads, but my average return on ad spend for my investment in that channel has been over 12x every month, month after month. So networks was another key component of the puzzle. I also added an AI bot to our website to capture leads. So when someone would search in our website, they go to it, most of the time they would bounce off and I wouldn't get leads from it, right? Even though I created the website for conversions, meaning somebody goes on the website, we capture the lead and we bring it in-house, I couldn't do it. So when I added the AI bot, it was like a little widget at the bottom that said, hey, message me, I'm a live agent available to help, or something along those lines. We noticed that people were going on our website, clicking on it, having a conversation, submitting their information, and the bot was built to book the appointments from the website directly into our CRM. So it worked great. We were getting about 3 to 5 new deals a month just from the website AI bot, right? But again, you're not gonna get people to your website unless you're doing SEO. So that was another component, right? But the AI bot was in charge of capturing those leads. Now, one thing that I realized is when we started going into peak season, we were having a huge influx of leads. And even though I had CSRs, I couldn't have them work 24 hours. And when they were off, we would miss calls. LSA would come in, Facebook, Google, we were getting leads from all channels and we were missing. So I hired a person, his name is Christian. I'm happy to recommend Christian to you if you ever wanted to have somebody come and build specific AI systems for your business. He's out of Canada, smart guy. I hired him, I think I paid him like $5,000 or so. And I had him build me a bot for the CRM to be able to be powered by ChatGPT and these other like AI engines. And we'll be able to send basically outbound text messages, respond when messages came in, do outbound calls based on the sequence that I trained it. Hey, if a call came in and we missed it, you call him back immediately, you get him on the phone, you book him. And I trained the bot like if it was an actual human, right? And so what we did is we started realizing that after hours, we didn't miss calls anymore. And not only that, but we were capturing customers for things that normally we would miss. And that helped a ton. So that got our booking rate after hours. And when on Sundays, we normally don't work on Sundays, that got our booking rate much higher. We're north of, I think it was like 42% from the AI bot, which I'm satisfied with, because otherwise it would have been zero because nobody would answer those calls. And when we got back to them, either people didn't answer or they already had found someone else. So the AI bot was key. Here's the third part, right? Because I kind of mentioned it here, but the third thing that we did is we went out of our way to hire high-performing CSR/salespeople that would be remote. See, look, at this time, we were in a 1,400 square foot building. It was super small. It was 2 offices, 1 bathroom, a little warehouse space, and there was already about 15 of us. So we were crowded in that small space. So I said, hey, let's hire these high-performing CSRs from wherever we find them, but let's make sure they're remote so we don't crowd up the office anymore. So we did that. It was a temporary thing. We're moving in-house now. But what we did is we poached from another company. I found some CSRs that were super highly trained, 7+ years in the HVAC space, answering, calling, booking, and following up with leads. They were pros, right? They did much better than I would, and I consider myself pretty good on the phones. So we brought them in super high. I mean, I'm talking about 80 grand a year. Who hires a CSR for 80 grand a year? It's just ridiculous. Most CSRs get paid 16 to 20 bucks an hour. And like the really, really good ones get paid somewhere around, I don't know, 25, 27 bucks an hour. But I went out of my way to poach them. So in order for me to poach them and have someone that's been working in one company that's super secure, 7, 8 years there, and come work for someone that's just starting out, you're gonna have to either impress them, sell them your vision, or pay them more money. And I had to, in my case, they negotiated more money than I wanted to pay. But I knew that if I brought in the right team to answer the phones, I would get super high booking rates, and in turn, I would get more sales. Now, I'm not gonna recommend that you go out and do the exact same thing in terms of hiring somebody at 80 grand a year. But I will recommend whatever amount of risk tolerance you could take, find the best people that you could find, okay? Don't go out and search for a CSR that has never done this before. Like, if you're gonna scale quickly, you're gonna need a team of A players. You're not gonna need a team of rookies that you're gonna have to train, and hopefully they perform wherever the KPIs are set to. You don't want that. You want someone who's a professional, that has experience, that has a track record, that already knows what to do, and you can plug and play. Okay, that was really the recipe for this whole thing. I only brought A players. And look, I could tell you one thing, I'm super happy, even though I'm paying them top wages, 80 grand a year on a W-2 ends up being, 7.5% of the wages of taxes and whatnot come to me. So somewhere, let's just say 90 grand, you know. I also give them commissions. So for every sale that they made, we would give them 50 bucks. So we wouldn't pay them on appointments booked. We were paying them a base salary, and we still are, plus $50 per appointment that they booked that sold. That was the big thing. I wanted to incentivize everyone to focus on sales, not just action. See, a lot of people confuse, movement for achievement. You could schedule 100 calls and no one sales. I didn't make any more money. So the goal was everybody focused on sales, from the CSR to the technician to the salespeople to the installer. Everyone had one goal: more sales, more happy customers. And so that's how we managed to do it. Now look, the fourth thing, which is one of the biggest components to the whole puzzle, was the sales team. And this was a little bit tricky because when I first said, hey, let's get real serious about starting to do 40, 50 installs a month, I knew that the sales team had to be on point. So I started thinking, hey, who has the best sales team? Again, my strategy has always been, let's go find the best people, let's become friends with them, let's find a way for us to sell them the vision and poach them from other companies because they're available. Guys, listen, the best sales guys or women, they already work for other companies. They're not hanging out at home looking for a job. Like most of these high performing people you're gonna find already working for other companies. So your goal is gonna have to figure out how are you gonna get these people to come work for you. So here's what I did. Hey, look, once I had the lead gen set up, immediately went to step 2, which get the CSR. Okay. And then the third step that I did is I went out and find the sales team. But I did this all in a matter of a week and a half. I did everything. Got the lead gen set up, got the CSRs, I brought in the sales team. Let me talk to you a little bit more in depth about the sales team because this one's a tricky one. The first guy I brought in, he showed me his sales record for 2024 on paper, a screenshot of service time with his name on and everything. Like I made sure that it was legit. $4.5 million is the amount of money this guy sold in residential replacement equipment. And I said, hey, tell me everything. What do you want? What do you need? Like, how can we make this work? The guy was in a transition period in his life. And so he was like, yo, listen, I want to make at least 300 grand a year with you. I want to make sure that I get a company vehicle, that I get a sign-on bonus, and that I get 11%. So I was like, hey, listen, I'm not ready for a company vehicle. I'm not ready to put you on a W-2 when I initially hired him. I said, I'll give you 11%, but you drive your own vehicle. And eventually, as the company gets a little bit more stable, I'll bring you on as a W-2. What I was trying to do is I was trying to limit my liability. I was trying not to pay payroll tax because it gets expensive with high-performing sales guys. Well, think about it. It's $7,500 for every 100 grand he makes. So if he was expected to make 300 grand, it's, I don't know, 22, 23,000 bucks, something, probably not exact math, and payroll taxes on top of his wages. So I was like, I think I'm going to hold off as much as I can and give him a job as a 1099 and see how he performs. So when eventually what we did, I'm not going to name his name because I don't want you to poach him from me, but eventually we ended up moving him over to a W-2 and now he's got a company vehicle and he's doing great. But that specific guy, knowing that he sold 4.5 million, immediately, listen, once we got into March, like mid-March, we sold like 298,000 bucks. Boom, 1 month. We brought him in, we gave him the leads, the CSR was booking him, we started selling. And basically, we were not making a lot of sales January, February, but as soon as we hit March, we hockey sticked up. And that was pretty much where it all started for us. At the same time, while I was building the front end team, so bringing in the marketing, the financials, getting the CSR, and getting the sales team in place, my business partner, Omar, on the back end, and that's the blessing I have here. I have a business partner who can help me, and we complement each other. What he was doing is he was getting the field staff ready, right? So mostly we focus on installations. Like we're not a service company, and we're trying to become more of a service company and enhance that department. But in 2025, we did 95% of all the revenue came in for residential replacements. There was nothing for service. We realized later that that was something that we needed to add. But we started, hitting 350,000 come April. Look, our biggest month for the year, that was a big deal. That was July. We did $698,000. And if I'm not mistaken, we put in $28,000 in Facebook ads to get to that number. It was beautiful. But how did we do it? Like the partner was building the back end team. We had 5 install crews. We had 1 technician to service our equipment because truly we didn't do a lot of service, right? So just 1 tech, 5 install crews, about 16 guys in the field. And we had a parts runner as well. He was helping us deliver equipment from, we sold a unit in North Dallas. He would deliver it to North Dallas. We sold one in South Dallas, East Dallas. He was just driving throughout the city, delivering equipment every single day. Before the day started, he had to be up super early to make sure the equipment was dropped off. And guys, listen, we made so many mistakes. I can tell you some of the things that I regret looking back on it. See, when we were kicking it off, the only thing I wanted to do was hit a revenue number. And I was focused on so many things that I couldn't do it all, correctly at once. I realized quickly that there were some mistakes that I made. As we got into those hot summer months, June, July, and we were paying $40,000, $50,000 in commissions. I quickly realized whoa, that's a big chunk of my revenue at scale. I don't mind paying it, they're bringing in the volume, but here's the mistakes that we made. We were paying our sales guys the same amount of money. The other 2 sales guys were making somewhere around 10%, but our mistake was we were paying our sales guys the same amount of commission when they sold the system for $12,000 or when they sold it for $8,000. So we realized that was a mistake that we needed to fix. We needed a price book that we could set at a certain amount, and if they go below it, the commission fluctuates rather than stays at the same amount, because basically you're rewarding, weak behavior at the same rate that you would reward higher margins. So that's something that We know that for 2026, we've gone and changed. We'll talk more about what we've done in 2026. But the other mistake was we didn't really have an install process in place. We had good installers. They all knew how to install. They were all trained and whatnot, but we didn't follow the same process across the board. We had like 2 install crews that were excellent. We never had callbacks from them. And we had 3 other ones that were, I'd say, all over the place, right? So we would go install, the customer would be happy. They would make simple mistakes like not flushing the drain lines, or another one that there was a common one was we didn't check the furnace, right? So we installed the system. It was summertime. We were checking the AC unit, make sure everything was right. And we didn't check the furnace. Come Q4, we started getting a bunch of callbacks because they were turning on the furnace and it wasn't turning on. Little mistakes, like these are simple. We were doing the installations right, but we were forgetting the small details to check if everything was working properly. We didn't have a handoff process, something we've now added, and I'll talk about that shortly. And also last year in 2025, you guys might remember, we had new refrigerant. That new refrigerant, it messed the whole industry up. It shook it up for sure. It wasn't easy. Not having across the board trainings and processes and procedures didn't help. So we were scaling. We went from 1 to 4 million in a matter of 12 months. And listen, I would say if I had to go back again, before I scale, I'd put processes in place. I make sure my team is trained. And you might wonder, well, I don't even know how to create a process. I'm happy to even just sit down with you or give you recommendations. There's a book that I would recommend on building processes. It's called Systemology. I'm gonna make sure that they put a screenshot here. That way you could see it. Systemology was the book that helped me how to build all the processes for the HVAC company. And again, we didn't do that until we got to the end of the year. There was a lot of operational things that I wish we would have done differently, like just keeping more jobs, more margins on the jobs. We did one thing right. We were super competitive. We didn't really let any job go, but there were some jobs we probably shouldn't have sold. And reflecting back, that's when I kind of caught that. But that's what happens. Listen, when you go from 1 million to 4, 1 million to 5, or however amount of money that you can do in a short period of time that's actually like impressive, you're gonna break things. Things are not gonna be perfect. You're gonna have more fires than you're expected to have. Like, it gets a little overwhelming, but it's very rewarding at the end to look back and be like, hey, I did something really cool. I scaled this company and I made some mistakes, but I also learned along the way. I'm gonna tell you, there's a few things also that I fixed in the operation. Like, I got super excited when hiring our sales guys that I was maybe too flexible when we were pricing out jobs. I was like, yeah, just sell it. Let's hit some revenue numbers. But yeah, for the year, our gross margin was not where I wanted to be. It was 40%, not terrible. A lot of HVAC residential companies operate between 40 to 45. I wish we would have been a little higher. I wanted to be closer to 50, but that was just, we were so flexible with it. When I hired those guys, they were used to selling $20,000, $30,000 systems, and they come over to us and start selling $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 systems. So for them, it was easy. It was just kind of like a game they were playing. The other mistake, like I mentioned earlier, like not making a very strict rule on my commissions and have something fluctuating based on gross margin rather than just be like, hey, you sold it for 7,500 because we had a customer that was super cheap and you got the same 10%. No, instead they would have gotten 5. I think that would have been more fair. Yeah, eventually, another factor that's super important, if you're gonna scale, you gotta pay attention to this because this will bite you in the rear end. When you're selling and you're offering financing, the dealer fees, they get out of hand pretty quickly. If you're doing $300,000-400,000 a month, yeah, you're gonna be paying a chunk. And that's where I started really losing money. I think the dealer fees started getting me pretty bad. I say this because we were paying $30,000-40,000 a month just in dealer fees at the peak months, summer months. And what I realized is in order to fix that, we needed to sit down with our sales team and say, guys, from here on out, you only have the ability to offer these 6 plans. Anything outside of that, cut your commission in half. So for example, we were not offering, after we fixed it, we stopped offering the 0% financing. We stopped offering any high financing dealer fees that were gonna end up taking profit from us. That was a big deal. We ended up having to restructure. For example, our commission structure with the sales guys, I'm looking at it here. Our price book now is set at 60%. Okay, these were some of the changes that we did in 2026. We set it at 60%, and the commission margin, we actually pay our sales team 8% over. So now everyone's on 10%, but we pay them 11% if they could hit 60% margin on job. Why do we do that? I'd rather pay an additional percent for the guys to work harder because 2024, my percentage was 40. So if I can increase my percentage of gross profit 20% by giving them 1%, that's a deal for me, right? So if they sell at 50% gross margin, they get 10% commission. And eventually the margin, the lower they sell the margin, the more points they lose on their commission. The seasonality, guys, the seasonality killed us. When we finished summer and we got into Q4, that quarter was a bit hard for us. I quickly realized that even though I was spending a lot of money on marketing in summer and getting a huge return, when we got into winter, our returns went like super lower. I mean, our returns went much lower. And what I realized was you can't get the same volume in winter than you can in summer. I mean, everyone watching here has been in the industry knows that. But I didn't realize that. Like I was like, no, as long as I keep spending money on marketing, I'm gonna fix the problem. And don't get me wrong, we were still in winter doing 300 grand a month. But again, in the peak of summer, I was close to 700. So we did have a dip. I quickly realized that the lead generation system was catered for summer and not built for winter. So I had to go make a bunch of changes. I had to change some of the lead sources I was running. Cost per lead went way too high. But I can tell you this, I fixed it. We consistently did above 200 grand, basically all of Q4 and Q1. And that was the hard part, getting through the winter. I can tell you this, for 2026, another thing that I'm gonna be prioritizing is maintenance contracts so we can stay busier in Q4 and just more customers in our database. This is a big one. If you're scaling, you're gonna run into cash flow issues. Like it's just part of it. One of the things that we did wrong is we didn't go to the dealership to try to get finance or lease vehicles. I said, hey, we're making a good chunk of money every single month. Why don't we buy our vehicles cash? So we started with 3 and we ended the year with 9, and we bought those vehicles cash. Now they weren't all brand new, they were semi-new, low mileage. I checked them, they were in good shape. So that's kind of like, it sucked a lot of our cash out of the bank and it gave us a cash flow pinch. Like that was, when we got to Q4, we felt that. It was not fun. I ended up needing to bring a cash injection from outside to be able to get the business back up and running. Cash is oxygen, guys. In your business, if you run out of cash, well, all I can tell you is you're gonna be stressing very quickly and you're gonna, be out of options. Options to buy equipment, options to hire more people, options to do anything that you wanna do. So after I put that cash injection, we were back in business and we realized that for 2026, I'm gonna be leasing all my vehicles instead of purchasing. That one's gonna be a big one for me. So here's some of the improvements that I've made for 2026 to position us to go from the 4 million that we did in 2025 to go to 10 million in 2026, which is a huge number. I'm super excited, but it's gonna take new levels to the game. So here's what I'm doing to get to 10 million. And I can make a video about this in the future, but I'm gonna give you a little teaser. What we did for improvements in 2026 was we ended up going from a small crowded 1,400 square foot building that we were in, paying like $2,200 a month, to a 5,700 square office that was created and basically designated for an HVAC company. It's divided in 3 parts. We have our office space, our training facility, and then lastly, we have our warehouse. It's friggin' awesome. I'm super happy with the new office, and we're now paying about $4,500 for that. So we got a heck of a deal. And another thing that we did for improvements, we ended up hiring Dan Antonelli with Kickchart. We're doing a full rebrand. We're gonna change pretty much everything about our appearance and our brand image, and then we're gonna go ahead and rebrand with a new logo. Guys, we were a big fan of House Call Pro for 2025 to help us pretty much get to the 4 million that we did. However, we realized that I was living out of spreadsheets because there was a lot of information in House Call Pro that either wasn't accurate or wasn't being tracked. So I was, tracking like closing rates, I was tracking booking rates and everything outside of the CRM, and it was just a hassle. So we went from House Call Pro and we moved over to Service Titan. It's been a little difficult to understand and navigate that software, but I'm pretty confident that we'll get it and we'll set it up correctly. The other thing is we adjusted our price book. Guys, we were operating at 40% for the year in 25. So we said, if we're trying to be more profitable, then all we have to do is raise our prices and make sure that our sales team keeps selling. So we went from a 40% margin to setting it up at 60 and also adjusting our commission structure, right? So it could be fluctuating. We created a clear marketing plan on how to get us to $10 million. And guys, at our average ticket, we have to sell 850 units for the year in order to hit 10 million bucks. So we have a certain revenue target that we need to hit, but it's based on amount of units moved. Again, I'm gonna be focusing on service, but that's just an extra. My big thing is changeouts. That right there, just alone, like having a clear plan of how many units you gotta do to see if you're on track, by what month you're on track. If you're off, you could always adjust, turn marketing up. I'm really hoping that everything goes as planned because life is like that, right? You really never know if you're gonna hit your target, but one thing is always set your target high, and even if you don't hit it in the 12-month period that you set for, targets are real, sometimes deadlines aren't, and that's when you get disappointed, but you just gotta keep going. I know I'm gonna hit $10 million. That's my goal for the year. Now, will I hit it before the end of the year? I don't know, it might take me a little longer. But one thing I'm gonna tell you is you gotta set your goals higher, and you're always gonna end up with a bigger number than if you set it low. Guys, listen, I'm super grateful that you guys tuned in today. I appreciate you. Drop some stuff in the comment. Let me know what you're thinking. If you like this video, what things I should talk about. I'm basically documenting my whole journey from going from 4 million in 25 to going to 10 million in 26 and beyond. So thanks for watching. If you got some value out of this video, do me a favor, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.